Qualcomm, down in the pre-market, a federal judge has ruled the company unlawfully hindered competition in the mobile phone chip market and used its dominant position to charge excessive licensing fees. Judge Lucy Koh's decision sided with the FTC, which brought an antitrust suit against Qualcomm in 2017. The chip maker says it strongly disagrees with the ruling and will seek an immediate stay and appeal. David, you're going to walk us through what all of this means this morning.
Yeah, we'll start with the opinion itself, delivered just before midnight last night, 233 pages. So you can imagine a lot of people going through that even at this hour in California and New York, trying to understand exactly what the ramifications are. The judge, during the course of the trial, at least had been seen as perhaps going against Qualcomm. At least those who were in the courtroom were reporting that along the way. It's been a long time, though, since those arguments actually ended, and we've been waiting for the decision. Some say she's basically discredited every single Qualcomm witness and gives a lot of credit to, obviously, the witnesses that were provided by the government. The FTC, by the way, was charging monopoly power and CDMA and LTE Plus, saying essentially that Qualcomm used its enormous leverage in the chip business to extract payments for licenses that otherwise would not have been paid, certainly not at the rate that they were. Of course, Qualcomm itself, as we know, has been involved in battles with so many of its customers, but many of them have been resolved. Most importantly, that battle with Apple that was resolved a few weeks back, sending the stock price soaring. I am told that that deal is not threatened by this decision at this point. However, it's very much unclear what the exact ramifications of this decision will be in terms of giving the right to customers to open negotiations with Qualcomm or try to renegotiate in some fashion. It's somewhat unclear. As Carl said, they are seeking a stay. They will go to the judge. She's not going to give them one, but the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is seen as potentially likely to do so. Then you obviously get an expedited appeal itself, and we wait and see what happens there. She, at least critics would say, or those on the Qualcomm side would say, had a preconceived notion of where she wanted to go, that is the judge, and went there, Jim. Right. And, the stock is obviously getting battered this morning on that and on the concerns about what it will mean for Qualcomm. At the same time, the likelihood is we're going to get a stay from the Ninth Circuit and then sort of wait for the appeal.
Well, I think that a lot of people were following this and believed that the FTC would win, which I think is one of the reasons why it threw us off, that Apple agreed. And that was one of the reasons why I think Qualcomm was up so much, was because, hey, listen, wait for the FTC and it's game over. I'm frantically trying to find out what it means for Apple. It may mean nothing.
The best I can tell, at least based on a number of conversations, is that I can't say definitively right at this point, but they clearly structured their negotiation outside of any connection to how this judge would rule. But I am told the ruling itself is still sort of, terms of question marks there.
But everyone uses Qualcomm. Would it be ironic that some Chinese companies benefit?
I mean, what is interesting here is that I think Huawei is still outstanding in terms of renegotiating a deal with Qualcomm.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay, now Huawei may not be able to get those chips anyway, given what's going on, although we got 90 days. But this judge seems to be coming out and basically benefiting Huawei's case in any negotiation with Qualcomm. Defending Huawei, I guess, in a sense, they're right to not be right, which is very odd.
But David, this is what bothers me. Qualcomm is an engineering genius marvel. If they've designed the best mousetrap, but then no one else has a mousetrap, is the judge just saying, well, you know what? Qualcomm's not allowed to negotiate like a monopolist. I mean, Qualcomm is not a utility. It's not kind of...
Right.
And
Judge Learned Hand, people will quote here, saying, listen, just because you succeeded as a competitor doesn't mean you should be penalized for your success.
Right. Not to mention that being monitored for 7 years doesn't change the fact that Intel essentially waved the white flag here, right? To that degree, the horse is out of the barn.
And that may have been what influenced Apple as much as anything else.
Yes,
again,
they needed 5G.
That they needed those chips. They needed a dedicated supply of chips. They couldn't not miss an entire cycle in the market without a 5G handset.
What's incredible is that if you follow the president, Apple is the winner in 5G. But because Apple, there was a piece today, a devastating piece.
Goldman.
Oh my God! It should make it sound like that all Apple does is sell in China. It's like Chinese Apple. Wasn't that amazing? That piece.
They did say the risk to earnings per share in China because of China lies in the mid 20% range.
29%, and then Apple's supply chain. I'm sure we'll echo this when we talk about retail. They don't think they can. Should China restrict iPhone production anyway? We do not believe the company will be able to shift much iPhone volume outside of China on short notice. And again, this is the continual theme. Where do you make things? When I spoke with Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, which stock goes down a lot, what's the matter?
Nothing. We're moving on.
Can I just say this?
Yes, go ahead.
He said, listen, I make everything in Taiwan. I see this coming. Just pointing it out.
In terms of Qualcomm and the ruling itself, the judge, again, I haven't gone through all 233 pages, does not necessarily give a lot of reasoning behind the anti-competitive arguments, but does seem to indicate that Qualcomm created the barriers simply by virtue of putting the best chip out there. We did speak to Mollenkopf. There's Lucy Coe, the judge, saying Qualcomm's licensing practices was strangled. Right. Well, it was the FTC's position as well. And for years, and harm rivals, she said, unfairly tends to destroy competition. This court concludes Qualcomm's licensing practices reasonably restrained.
You can't create a competitor, Judge Coe. Right?
Right.
Sherman Act is tough, though. You know that Sherman Act that's a bad act.
It's a bad act. We did have Steve Mollenkopf, the company's CEO, on with us a few weeks ago, of course, after the Apple settlement. We asked him about this very case and what he expected. The FTC case concluded some time back, but we have yet to hear from the judge. Is that still a risk for you or for Qualcomm and its business model?
It is. I think we did finish that trial at the end of January. We're waiting for the judge to rule. I think hard for me to talk a lot about that, but we'll deal with that when the judge makes her decision.
Do the settlements, though, including, of course, the one with Apple yesterday, impact that ruling in some way, regardless of what it may be?
I don't think so. I think when we look at this deal, we're just happy to be able to do it. The environment with which we were able to put the deal together is obviously right in the middle of a trial. But the court's going to make its decision, and
because there had been some concern, given the comments from the judge during the course of the trial itself, that perhaps things did not look like they were going your way.
I think we were quite happy with the way the trial progressed. If you look at the record, what we argued, we think we had a very strong and put on a very strong case. But again, it's in the hands of the judge, and we'll wait her decision.
Well, we got it. Haven't heard from Mollenkopf yet, but expect perhaps that we're going to hear more from Qualcomm as the morning goes along, or certainly as the days stretch out from here.
Yeah, short statement, as you said earlier, David, but we'll wait for more.